At 7:02. And I have to let everyone know that we actually do not have a quorum for our school projects. We do for the police station training range. Because in person here we have, I don't know if you can see all of us, but Roy's here, Kathy's doing the minutes, and we have Ken Hunt and Jim Delaney from Rizzo. But we had a couple people, we knew people weren't coming, but then we had a couple of last minute people who couldn't come, and Dave Olson, who was supposed to zoom in from Maine, doesn't always have a great internet connection in Maine. So at some point, if Dave comes in, we can conduct business. Otherwise, I'm just going to do a couple of updates. So we won't be able to approve invoices, unfortunately, or any other things that need to be approved, like the meeting minutes and such. So, well, since we're actually having a meeting, we'll start, and you can join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So thank you. I don't believe we have anybody who's public to do public input. And as I said, we're going to have to table the approval of the meeting minutes until next time.
Hey, Nance.
Yeah.
Would it be possible if that we can just move the police business up first, and then in case somebody else does pop on, this way Bob doesn't have to wait the whole time?
Yeah, because that'll be quick.
Yeah. If we can do that, that I'm sure might work out better, just in case Dave does pop on or something.
Okay, so we're going to do that, and it's not going to take long. I only have one invoice.
Okay.
And I'll just say, and I know Vinny will have something too, or Mark, one of the other. The Action Target contract or agreement was signed by the town. It had already been signed by Action Target. It was reviewed by Marty Lawler, signed by the town. I actually have it, and I'll file it with the town clerk. I sent Action Target their copy. They were fine with a scanned copy. And I'll upload that to the shared drive at some point. And I forwarded it to you again, Ben. I don't know if you finally got it. I have to apologize because I've been having some email trouble. And I know I sent John a lot of stuff for the last meeting, which he never got. So then he wasn't able to share it with you and use it at the meeting. So I'm moving towards using a Gmail account, which I hope will eventually be the only email account that I'll use. My old SBC Global is an old Yahoo/ATT account that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't these days. And I've heard some horror stories about people getting hacked because they don't provide the kind of security that you used to get when SBC Global was our phone company. You know, it's no longer in existence, and so there's no connection there. So Action Target has signed, and the Downs contract has been signed by Downs and is being again reviewed by Marty before the town signs it. And Vinny, I don't know if you have anything further for us on that.
No, that's exactly where I understand everything is.
So once the DCC contract gets signed, they can all start coordinating more. I think with Action Target being signed, they should be able to, or maybe they already have ordered that. I emailed on Saturday, but I do that sometimes because that's when I have time. And everybody gets it when they get into their offices on Monday. But hopefully they can order the equipment they now need to order.
I will follow up with Action Target in the morning. I'll actually email Rex and I'll call him to make sure that he has executed the contract for the air handler and see if we can get a timeline on when that will be delivered.
Okay. And from there, it's basically coordination, I believe, between Downs, Jukunsky, Humes, and Action Target on timing, and then between Downs and Jukunsky Humes on when they can get started, when Jukunsky Humes finishes all the design of the infrastructure, et cetera. and when they can get started, or when they will get started on putting that all together to start the construction part.
Yeah, now that Action Target has their contract, they will finalize their construction documents, send them over to the architect for final coordination with the architectural set. And then that will then go to Downs Construction and they'll go out to bid. That's where we're at with that process.
Okay,
I understand it may take 4 to 6 weeks for the architect to complete their drawings, but now that we got Action Target's contract, I'll get a timeline on their delivery, and then I'll talk to the architect and see when they will complete their documents and give them the Downs.
okay. Because I know they had gotten started on what they could do initially, and they had been in contact with Action Target, but then they couldn't do any more until everything was complete.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a point where they stopped working on the drawings or doing any additional work until they got a contract.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else that you have that I don't have or that we don't know about? Because you're doing a lot of stuff with, directly with them.
Right. No, Action Target wants to try to get some components in early, and once we get Downs on board and we get them situated, we can get the coordination going to make sure that what they're bringing on site isn't going to interfere with Downs's construction work, because we don't want to have a conflict there. But the three of us will coordinate that effort, and you may actually see equipment put in their rack show up early, with the exception of the air handler.
Right. Well, as long as and I think there's some space to put that either around the back or on the side or in the parking lot.
They actually want to bring it into the actual target range.
Yeah, if it can go in through a regular door, that'd be great. If we have to open up that wall, then that's got to wait for the wall to be open, because I don't think we want to open that wall and leave it open for any long period of time.
Correct, and that's where the coordination will come into effect. Sounds like they want to deliver components and assemble them on site, but I'll get more detail now that we have Action Target on the contract.
Right. Well, that's great if they want to start getting that stuff together and bringing it in.
Absolutely.
We just have to give the police department heads up, because I know they had some stuff stored in there, so they may need to clean out some stuff. Can't be a storage space anymore.
Yeah, I can coordinate that with the lieutenant.
Okay. All right. So I think that's it for the training range at this point. I do have one invoice, which I think we can do now. And unless Bob Durkin has anything for us, but I think probably not. So I have to screen share, don't I?
Yeah. I can also screen share if you want.
Oh, do you have the invoice?
Yes. Yeah, this is the STV invoice.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I'll share my screen.
Okay.
I need screen sharing.
Yeah.
Whoever has control.
I know, I just forgot.
That's okay. All right. So now you're a co-host. You should be able to do that.
Okay. Everybody see my screen? I'm not sure which one you're seeing.
Oh, we're seeing the stars and we think that's better than the invoice.
All right.
Can
So
you
we have
zoom
an
in a little more, Ben?
Yeah. We have an STV invoice. That blew up quick. For 2450. Invoice number 900-25595.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we approve the STV invoice number 900-25595 dated 9/9/2022. And that's pretty much for the month of July in the amount of $2,724.50.
I'll second it.
John Menti seconds. If anybody has any questions, there is a second page that shows it's mostly, it's a little bit of Geraldine when she was finishing up, mostly Vinny and Mark doing whatever oversight that he has to do if he's on there. I don't think, yeah, he is a little bit.
It might be an hour or two for me to
Yeah.
handle the transition.
Right. So any questions about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So John says aye, Bob says aye, and John Perna says aye. All right, so that carries. And I will take that to finance to get paid. Kathy will deal with that tomorrow. All right, so I think that. Let me get this back up here. You can probably stop screen sharing now, Vin.
Yes, I'm working on finding that.
I know, it's like finding, you don't do it all the time. Some people know how.
It's like finding Nemo here.
Well, we can keep looking at your stars. Those are cool. That's
Appreciate
pretty much it right now for the training range. As Ben said, he's going to get us some further information on the progress for the next meeting. For the schools, I think we still don't have Dave Olson, which means we still don't have a quorum. But I think we can do a quick update. I know that, well, so Ken and Jim are here. And landscaping stuff is, I was up there yesterday, I see lots of green grass. Do you have any?
He's gonna do first cutting on Saturday.
On Saturday, okay, great. Any idea when the second one, how long, do you think, you know, how long between they might do for?
Could be a week, could be 2 weeks.
Okay, we'll see how, he's gonna just see how it grows. Yeah, it looked, I thought,
Looked good.
yeah, I thought it looked pretty good.
The place is brilliant.
It looks a lot better, definitely, than what we had. And does he have any other things to do than the cutting?
Just has to remove the stakes
All right, yeah,
afterwards.
because all that stuff is in place. All the stakes he put in with the, all that, you know, keep off, that's all still in place. No one's taken it out. So I think Dr. Carver, if you can remind, I know Bob's away, so if you can remind whoever to make sure that that area does not get cut by anybody else except Sunburst until further notice.
Will do.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that? Is that the last thing that's hanging out there that's preventing the closeout? I was asked by my Board of Ed where we are with that. We are also in the process of applying for an HVAC grant through the Office of School Construction. And I'm assuming that this project does not have to be closed out prior to applying, but I know that was an issue, Terry, when we did we had to close out the high school before we could apply for this grant. So I'm a little concerned about that. So is this the last thing that's hanging out there for us to close out with the state?
I
Yeah,
understand this. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
yeah, I think Ken is saying yes, and I don't know, Ben, if you know about the whole Office of School Construction process, or Mark might know. If there is something that has to, do we have to close this project out?
Well, I want to know, I guess, first, when are we going to close it out? And what is remaining that is preventing us from closing it out? Because Terry worked very closely with Geraldine before she left. We have all the paperwork in order. We can file, but there was just this, I thought, just this landscaping project, which was preventing the final closeout. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes, and then
The state has told us all the bills have to be paid so that we include them all in the filing we send them. And then there is some additional paperwork that has to be attached. And honestly, Geraldine was going to walk us through that. So I'm hoping, Vinny, that you're going to walk us through that so that we do it in an efficient manner.
yeah, I will work with my team to make sure that it's done efficiently and you have everything that you need.
So when do we anticipate that will happen? When will we pay the final landscaping bill to start the process?
well, I think,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, once the final cutting is complete, then Rizzo should be able to submit us our final invoice, and we should get that paid. My guess is we should only have one more invoice, and that'll be next month.
Okay.
We should close out that, and I'm gonna, go ahead, Mark.
It's probably 4 to 6 weeks away, Christine.
And
Okay.
do you want SLR to do a final inspection once the second cut occurs?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I would think so. Although it
That'd be
doesn't,
the architect. The
It has to
architect.
be
and
approved by the
SLR.
architect as
Yeah.
well.
so
Right.
4 to
Well-
6 weeks.
Well, if there's a cutting on Saturday and he cuts again in a week or maybe 2 weeks. And then we have to get, I don't know, Joe, if you would come or just SLR, but both of you, if you come, they've got to do that, do the approval. And then in the process, in that, once there's the okay, Rizzo has to put together a application for payment.
A final application for payment.
And that's not just the landscaping stuff, but it's other, things that are hanging out there with any retainage, et cetera. So that's got to all get reviewed and then,
You have the legal issue.
is that gonna
Do you
stop
have
you?
that together yet, Jim, as far as?
That'll probably get triggered when we send in the back charge for paying. So
No, I was just wondering if there's anything our board can start to review, so at least we're kind of up and ready.
the ball's kind of in his court.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does when we send it back.
So does that stop you from doing your final application? for
That-
payment?
That should not, because the state, that none of that's going to be eligible if there's
Right.
a settlement of some type. That's going to end up being between the town and, and Rizzo. I mean, there's still money technically approved for the project, but it won't affect eligibility for reimbursement. So I think that once the eligible bills have been paid, the other thing we will have to do again, Christine, is bring it back to the board for acceptance one more time. I'll find the wording for that,
Okay,
because once everything's been paid, then I think we need them to make a motion and formally accept the project. That triggers us allowing us to file the final with the state.
but that doesn't have to go to the board of the public building site, right?
Board of Ed,
Just the Board of Ed,
Board of Ed.
not the Board of Selectmen.
No, just the
Okay.
Board of Ed.
Okay.
I know that's one of the requirements, and then Vinny and company will let us know if there's other things we need to do.
But Vinny and Mark, so assuming that the landscaping is in order, we get the final bill from Rizzo for the landscaping.
Right.
Even if there's outstanding issues, we can go ahead and close with the state. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay,
So if the application for payment from Rizzo is theoretically partial because there may be this legal issue with the landscaper, if they're closing out all the rest of their retainage and paying for whatever they, requesting payment for whatever else is out there, not a lot, but some, there still might be that might not be the final application for payment. There may be another application for payment once we settle the whole landscaping thing, right? So Rizzo's saying yes.
but
Mm,
Nance, we got to resolve this, man. So I thought that that wouldn't be eligible anyways, correct, Terry?
No,
Right.
but what I meant, so that's my question.
Can Rizzo break that out?
Well, they can, but the thing is, that won't be their final application for payment.
No, but in terms of filing with the state for eligibility for the project, Mark and Vinny, I'm looking to you. As long as the landscaping is the last piece, even though Rizzo might have future invoices, we can still close out with the state, correct?
I'm not sure of that. I'll be completely honest with you. And the only reason I'm not sure of that, Christine, is that if there's legal issues and legal actions between Rizzo and Bethel, the town of Bethel, you don't want to release that last application for payment legally.
So do you know if that would prevent us from applying for any other grants, like the new HVAC grant?
I don't think it will, but I will look into it and confirm for you.
That would be great.
Okay, I will look into that and see if that's an issue. I don't believe it will be, because it's different and you're closing, you're in the act of closing out Rizzo's contract. So I will research that tomorrow and get an answer for you.
And I guess
Just-
with
Just
the,
some background. I know the state was expecting closure of this.
They
So
were.
I know that they are going to apply some pressure to get this project closed, because I think they sort of expected we'd be closing this close to a year ago.
Right.
and then I guess theoretically, so I can talk to Brad also about this, because they're holding back 11%.
Yes.
So how long could we be waiting? I mean, the town would be, I would assume, need that cash.
So
mean-
you're saying the state would hold back 11%?
Well, they do.
They did.
do.
Yeah.
They do. And that's why the town was pressuring us a little bit too to close out, because they need it for their own cash flow. Right, Terry?
Yes.
So I guess, how long are we talking about? I mean, it can't go on for years.
Well, it won't go on for years, because we do have one outstanding issue that was recently brought to our attention that would be happening outside of the contract with Rizzo and the GMP.
Right. That's the storm drainage thing.
Right. And
Yeah.
so we need to take care of that using construction funds, but our plan is to get it done before the end of the year, because we would like to get it done before winter really sets in.
And I don't think that would be eligible, am I right?
No.
Right.
no,
Yes, so that wouldn't affect the closeout, I would think, if it has nothing to do with
no,
Rizzo.
because that's going to be happening, and we're going to be working on it. and,
Right.
um, Which is-
I still have a question and maybe you'll help out in this.
Say it loud.
Priority, I think there's no question they're gonna contest or, they're gonna fight that claim. So let's assume that happens. Where does that put us to close the project? Does that hold up?
Yes, we wouldn't be able to submit, we wouldn't be able to call it a final anyways.
Can we escrow a certain amount of money though, to get closure? Yeah, I gotta think, I mean, we're not talking huge dollars. I don't think we're talking huge dollars here.
It's probably what, $50,000, something like that.
Talking about Rizzo's contract remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a little bit of general conditions that are left.
Yep.
And so I'm looking at their contract right now, they're on their last pay app. They have dollars that are left on landscaping for balance to finish. You've got the GMP contingency trade costs, there's a little bit of money there. The only retainage that is left to be paid out is for the landscape. All the retainage has been paid out on the project. So the total value that is left on the project is roughly about 31,000.
That's just on one school, right?
I'm sorry, yes, one school. That is on Rockwell.
Your landscape covers sunburst.
So it covers both schools.
Yeah. So, but the problem is gonna be, if you remember, priority in the history, they submitted a claim. For
Yes,
the work that they did. I forget the exact
Right.
amount.
Right.
50,000, whatever. So it'll be whatever the money is spent for on sunburst plus that claim that they.
Correct.
right.
That should be the value. They may,
Right.
most
Probably
people throw
another
kitchen
damage.
sink, you know.
Right, but
That
if-
should be the value.
So if the sunburst amount is a little more than the priority amount owed, you can't back charge them the whole amount.
Say
Would we-
it one more time.
So if the amount that it's costing sunburst to do the remediation is higher than what we owe priority,
It's not.
it's not, okay.
Oh, so there's some changes there, but that's where the contingency dollars should cover that. So it
Yes.
shouldn't- Right,
But
because that's a change.
you can't back charge them the whole amount.
Yes, we can't back charge priority for things that were outside of that scope of that punch list.
Right. But if there is more, then there should be some way to handle that in a way of you're getting an application for payment and getting payment so that you can pay sunburst, but
Or it's pretty straightforward.
yeah,
I'm okay with that. What we'll do there is we'll bill for,
but would there be a change order for the additional amount to sunburst?
so if.
Or is that coming out of your?
Yeah, we would just do that out of, as long as you guys agree, we'd just do that out of the balance of the contingency.
Right, that would make sense.
But if it's coming out, if it changes the GMP and it's coming out of our contingency, is it coming out of
It
yours?
would come out of ours, so
Okay.
that change the team.
Okay,
So Nancy, I'm just not clear. What is the existing legal issue with priority? Are they still debating?
they say that, you know, Rizzo owes them the money, hence the town owes Rizzo the money and Rizzo owes them the money. And they did the work as they're supposed to and whatever their claim says. So they're gonna contest, they will, when Rizzo back charges priority for the amount owed to Sunburst, they'll contest it and, or not, maybe they won't, I don't know. They must, if their uncle's a lawyer, they might.
So, and what is the amount that they think they are owed?
So Dr. Carter, it would be the balance of that contract, which I thought was.
I think Vin has it.
You're talking about I only have so did I understand that all the landscaping is in Rockwell contract?
No, it's at Rockwell and Johnson's.
Okay, because I only have the Rockwell invoice right now, the last invoice.
So Dr. Carter, there's about $31,000 of priorities money left between retainage and contract work at both schools. He also submitted a claim of, I'm guessing at the number, I believe it was about $30,000 for having to redo work there that was not accepted. So I would imagine that his claim is going to be for those $2 amounts.
So about 60,000?
Yes.
And so when you say claim, does that mean he's filed a suit against us?
He's already filed the suit, so what would happen is when we then send him documentation paying Sunburst from his funds, he'll then look to push forward with the action.
Because Rizzo still owes priority that much money. And they're not
Gotcha.
just gonna kind of put their hands up and go, okay, whatever. They're gonna fight for their money. So they're gonna do it through the legal process.
So it could take a while.
Well,
This could be tied up in court for months and months.
Right.
the first question is, can we do an escrow or something to
Right.
handle that and close the
I
site?
would think
That's a good
That's-
idea.
But it's already past the
It's just your-
period anyway.
So the wild card there would be the legal fees,
Right,
and it's an educated guess.
that's,
That's where you could get hurt.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to probably, talk to Marty and take a look at that, and, maybe if we can get together some of those numbers, so at least we get a pretty good handle on
It's been a while
what the
since I looked
exposure
at
is gonna be.
Yeah, we can put something together, a summary.
Yeah, because I think it's in everyone's best interest to.
So if for the next meeting between STV's guidance and talking to Marty, I think we should have a plan
Right.
that's acceptable. And honestly, I don't know that plan. I don't have a law degree. So, but whatever, yeah, I'm sure we're not the first project that's had to close with the state with one or two contingency items remaining. So but we want to do it the right way because we always do it the right way. So that's what we need an understanding of is how the building committee and the Board of Ed should proceed so that we are able to close the project with the state and still deal with if there is a valid contingency that the town of Bethel deals with that.
So-
I'd like to have Vinny maybe work with
Yeah, so,
Ken and Jim and see if we can
right, so,
get a number together.
yeah, Vin and Mark, if you could look into, like, if you've had any experience with, especially school projects, where there's an issue like this, where you have to, you can't just cleanly close it out because you've got, this outstanding possible legal claim. And, work with Ken and Jim to see if we can come up with, like Roy says, what's the amount that we could
Let's,
put aside in escrow?
I think that's, somehow we gotta proceed so we can just get something done.
Yeah, just wait.
Because I could see it being you know, in my mind, they could cut the lawns this Saturday and I think they're set. So, you know, that's my opinion of it. Obviously, I want to have the architects and engineers out, but I think we're that close. So I think it's really just a matter of settling the dollars. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want Terry and I to, because I know Terry's in Bethel, maybe tomorrow we could call Michelle Dixon at the Office of School Construction and just see, I mean, Terry, what do you think? Like, to see what she thinks?
But if STV thinks we should give it that a try, just to see if she's dealt with this before and. what's
I'm sure she
expected.
has, and I would say if you guys want to do that directly, that's okay, because that's kind of the direction we were gonna go.
Yeah. So Terry,
And you get the answer straightforward yourself, and you don't have to wait for us to get back.
Okay, so
so
we'll make that call tomorrow.
Okay.
yeah, and see if we can reach her, and maybe she can give us some guidance too on how to kind of legally navigate that.
And I was gonna suggest asking, but then I wasn't sure if that would send up red flags for. I mean, if you have a good relationship with the people, then.
We do.
It's
Terry and I do.
And then you can kind of, you know, let Vinny and Mark know and let Ken and Jim know, and then maybe all can come up with some sort of plan. And if we need to get some legal advice, we can start with Marty, and if they need to involve anybody else that has a different experience legally, you know, we can do that and see where we need to go with it.
Well, I know Marty dealt with a couple of legal issues at the end of the high school project, so I think Marty would probably, from Bethel's standpoint, be the one to talk to with that.
Okay, so Dave Olson's trying to come in. That would help, because then we could approve invoices and things.
Yeah.
So while that's happening, because he's connecting still, so we've got that plan going on.
And then just if Joe, how soon after the cutting will you be out to inspect it?
I'll check with SLR and see when they would recommend, probably the next day, I would guess, but
So, but the next Saturday is the next time they're doing it?
I don't know.
This
Ken
coming
and Jim
Saturday they're doing
would
it.
have to confirm
Yeah,
that.
this coming Saturday, Nance. I'm gonna make sure that our landscaper knows too.
So this coming Saturday is the first cut, and then they'll,
Oh, I thought it was a second cut.
it's the first cut, and then they'll determine from there when's the best time to do the second cut.
Okay,
And then they'll keep us posted. I'm sure they'll keep Ken and Jim posted, they'll keep us posted, so we know when to.
Yeah, we were figuring mid-October for the,
okay.
that's based on when they seed it.
So is our goal, I mean, in order to, I mean, just to have a goal, is our goal then by the October 26th meeting to be able to have the landscaping done and maybe have all our answers as to how we should best proceed?
Yes, it's my goal.
So then we're all gonna have to keep working on it together, whoever needs to do different parts, you know, we'll have to. keep
Yeah.
working.
And
All right, good. The other couple of things that we have, and Dave Olson just joined us, so that's like, I hope he's there. Yeah, he's there. He's still, the squares keep moving around. So, Bob Germanaro's not here, he's away, but he had brought up last month, some issues with HVAC and had ESC come in and do a report, and there were a bunch of replies that Rizzo provided, and I think where we are right now is there's IES and Rick Bialecki took a look at it too, and so I think we're gonna have a meeting, not now, because it'd be just way too much tedious and take up too much time, but Vinny, anybody else, like either John Perna or Dave Warpath or both, along with Rick Bialecki, can look at all that stuff to see, are there still things under warranty? Are there things that need to be, you know, we need to get in touch with the contractor, et cetera. So they'll work all that out in a little kind of like owner architect, et cetera,
Yeah,
meeting.
we're trying to figure out the timeline here of when the system started to not perform, because the timeline is a struggle for us to understand as to when it was working and then now it's not working. And we need to talk to Bob Germano, I think that's his name, to find out kind of the details of that, because the ESC and the HVAC contractor work together already on the installation of that piece.
Right.
So if you're now coming back saying that that piece that is not functioning properly, well, you installed it, you put the controls on it, you set it up so that it could handle both normal operation and COVID operation. So why all of a sudden is it not functioning right? And why are we hearing that there's parts missing? I'm very confused by that. And I can only imagine that the consultants are confused as well. And Rick Bilecki, who's our commissioning agent, who's completely done and completely paid, is volunteering his time to come back and look at that and figure out who's on first and get our hands around it, because we acknowledge if the system's not working as it's supposed to, then we've got to come up with a plan to get it corrected. But at the same time, we want to know for sure if these are out of warranty, and I believe everything is out of warranty. So we're going to figure out a whole series of different steps to get this corrected and get it corrected quickly.
Right, that was kind of my main question was, okay, so if it's something that worked for a whole year and now it's not working, you know, when was it working and when was it not working? So I think a meeting with Vinny and Bob, Terry or Christine, Dr. Carver, do we know when Bob is back?
Bob is back. I can tell you, I think it's next week. I mean, he's gone for about a week.
All right. Okay.
And I can email you the exact dates. I don't know, Mark, when it's started. I can tell you that about the time that ESC, I always say it wrong, ESC, issued the original memo with all the kind of points, was the first time I heard about it not working. And so I can't imagine if people thought it was not working before that I wouldn't have heard something. And Terry was right about the time that, I mean, you had left a couple months before, but Bob had never mentioned it to you, correct?
Nope.
So I think that probably is when, and I don't know what triggered them to look into it. So he's the only person that can answer those questions. So
Yes.
I will definitely email you when he's back.
Okay.
But I think he's gone about a week.
So I think that Bob brought it up at that one meeting, which I said was about a month ago. That was he had started noticing things, and he himself called ESC to come and do a check.
Correct.
So that's when ESC generated that report. So there were some things going on shortly before that, probably. So we're gonna have to, you know, I think that, you know, what Mark was saying about getting some kind of timeline together, and Bob would be the one that would help you get that.
Right. We need to do a little forensic investigation here and see when it started, when it was operating correctly, when we first noticed that it was operating incorrectly or not operating properly at all, and then associate how that could have happened. I mean, the system's only 2 years old. It should
Right. It should
function
be.
without any issue. If there's parts missing, well, why are they missing, and why weren't they missing 2 years ago? So we're trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
And do it intelligently. And obviously we want to do it quickly, but we want to do it intelligently and thoroughly at the same time.
Right. And it's fully commissioned. So then you say, okay, if it's fully
Right.
commissioned, and when. And like Mark said, Rick, I spoke with Rick Bilecki, and he's offered to be right here and look at everything with us. So for Vinny and Mark, both John Perna and David Horvath, who's not on the meeting tonight, are our resident HVAC Public Site and Building Commission experts. So
So I went to the training and everything was working fine.
Right.
And we implemented what we'll call the COVID mode.
Right.
And the COVID mode was based on the state guidelines. Everything was functioning 100%. Everything was good. I have a very good relationship with Rick. I will call him myself and have a conversation with him, and I'll see what he says for our next meeting.
Yeah. He seemed, his comments seemed very, like Mark said, very cooperative.
Yeah.
He wants to help.
Yes.
But I would like to see a meeting happen before our next meeting of a smaller group of,
Right.
not having to resolve all this during a meeting, but, STV and.
We'll drive that ship.
Yeah.
We'll drive that ship.
And Mark, he is back next Tuesday.
Okay.
Bob is-
I would love either myself or Jen Variali to sit in on that. So let us know when you're going to schedule it.
Okay.
All right, good. And then the last item, well, there's two things. One, because of the situation with the stormwater management area and the level spreader, when we've been looking at that, we looked at creating an easier access to that area if need be by putting another gate into the fence that's all around that whole area, which I think you came up with a quote for us. Yet, to give you a little more information, Roy and I met yesterday with SLR and so it was Darren and Dave from SLR, Joe Collada, and Pete from Sunburst, to look at it, to see kind of everybody throw out their own ideas, et cetera, of how it's the level spreader that's not being as functioning as it should be. So there's, conversation back and forth, et cetera, how it should have been, et cetera. SLR did say at the last meeting, I did listen to the recording, that they did their plans off of some aerial topography maps rather than a site visit. And if the site wasn't going to work properly, obviously there could have been either an RFI or something. That didn't happen, but so we are where we are. What can we do? It's kind of the easiest, most cost-effective, et cetera. So there's information being shared, and then so there's one thing I hope we can do tonight about this is that Perkins Eastman gave us a proposal to come up with a plan, and most of it is from SLR to do some design and then oversight, both Perkins Eastman and SLR doing construction oversight. At one point, Mark had offered to have some engineers from STV to come out and look at it to see, because Mark and I actually had a conversation, do we spend a whole lot of time doing some analysis and then start pointing fingers at whose fault it was and do legal stuff, or do we just fix it? Because I think trying to do some sort of legal claim thing would become much more expensive than doing some remediation in that area. So, like I said, the meeting yesterday, a lot of ideas were floated around, and they're going to see what they can come up with for a plan. And then we're gonna have to get a quote on cost. As far as the gate goes, there was some discussion too about putting the gate in a different area. So I think we're gonna wait on that and see. I know you guys don't need to pick up more stuff, but yeah. So as far as the level spreader goes, I don't know if Vin or Mark, you have any other input on that? Or if we want
My whole thought, and Nancy, you and I had discussed this before, was obviously if we want to chase legalese and find out who's at fault here, we're going to bog everything down for months and cost the town of Bethel a lot of money.
Yeah.
And what I was first suggesting was that we have a number of, including Bethel residents, believe it or not, engineers in-house that could come out and take a look at it and maybe diagnose it and see what the problem is, and then come up with a plan for corrective action. But I also know that, obviously you folks have spoken with Perkins Eastman, and they're offering to come up with a plan with a landscaper to correct it and fix it from there, which if that's more cost effective and that's the direction you folks want to go, then I wouldn't argue it at all. I just am concerned that if it's not engineered properly, are you putting a Band-Aid on a bad situation? That's my only concern.
Yeah,
Well, I think along that line, you know, the fact of having SLR, since they did the original design work, they know all the design flows. I think the thought was to try to use them to come up with a fix to take care of the situation, move the trail around. Everyone was looking at it yesterday as a very minimally invasive type work. And I think that's the proper way to go. I don't think anyone is gaining anything by going back on the contracts and what have you. We're just too far out of that realm, and you know, we're just gonna be chasing. So I think coming back with SLR, letting them do a design, you know, through Joe. You know, we keep the same people involved, you know, look at different smaller contractors to do the work. I think Earth Movers is, you know, probably not the contractor we would want to use for that scale of project. And I kind of think we should spend the money and move forward with letting SLR and Joe, you know, take the design and get us to the next step so we can see what we need to spend.
yeah,
I think that if we do something different, it's also going to bog down the schedule. You know, if we change people, that's going to bog down the schedule. And I think overall, I think we've been pleased with you know, everyone on the team. So I don't really see a need myself to change different people right now.
yeah. Yeah, I think on one hand, you know, Mark's suggestion of having some of their engineers, so different people look at it, gives you a whole different outlook, yet at the same time, is it gonna take a while for them to get up to speed as
Just-
to,
that's what I'm a little concerned.
you know, if SLR's been looking at this and working on it, has worked on it, did the original design, etc. They might be able to come up with something more quickly, so it's kind of like a 6 of one, a half dozen of the other.
Well, you know, my only concern with SLR is if they came up with a faulty design in the first place, why do you want to use them again?
So I don't think the design was faulty. I think, as I said, yes, there was the idea of the level spreader. Water coming out all along the whole, 40 some odd foot length of it, and then spreading over a pitched area that's, you know, 1 inch per foot would have probably worked great, yet the grade in that area just didn't support that. And and as I said, I did say that, that should have been known ahead of time, yet at the same time, when it was being worked on, could it have been brought to someone's attention before somebody said, oh, it's done? I mean, somebody accepted it and said, yep, it's fine. We don't know how long it's been misfunctioning. And
You know, one of the other problems is, and you know, no fault of SLR, you know, the trail that goes along there was not designated in there, you know, during the original stuff. So even if it was done exactly to plans, the water would have gotten onto that trail and done gone the exact same way it would have gone, with the exception of about 10 feet different instead of coming off the end of the level spreader. So I just think you can't really blame anyone on this. There's just a lot of things. I think it should have been caught originally, you know, when they signed off on it. I do believe someone should have at least looked at it then a little more in detail, but these are things that are already passed. And, you know, from the original design, I don't really think anyone did anything, you know, blatantly wrong. It's just things weren't noted on the plans. No one went out and looked at them. You know, this is a situation we have now. So, but I still feel pretty strongly that it's going to be much easier and much more cost effective in the long run, just to keep the same team going and get this solved.
Just to follow up on the design, SLR did make a statement at our last meeting that Mother Nature has determined the flow of the water. And I'm interested to see what they're going to use as a design based on what they said at the last meeting, that Mother Nature has already determined where the water's gonna go. And we just need to make sure that based on that, Mother Nature doesn't determine that whatever they do is gonna go in a different direction. So I think that's something that we need to watch out for.
Right. Well,
And,
that's,
that goes along with the aerial, that they talked about. Instead of the site visit, they use aerial photographs for the topographical.
right,
Well, they're not talking about changing anything at this point. They're gonna use the swale that got washed out. And that's new established pathway. So there was not, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of engineering, I don't think, besides figuring out the plunge pools and, different velocities for that. It's well determined where it's gonna fit.
yeah. So that this, part of the discussion yesterday was that, as Roy said, using that obvious flow of water as the new direction that water's gonna go in, and working the trail around that. It'll be in the same general vicinity, but there may have to be a few culverts with some riprap and et cetera put in place. And that's what SLR is going to come up with. But I think you're right, then we've got to make sure that if water's going to go where it's going to go, and I have lots of photographs, and you can kind of see out there where it has gone. That it keeps going in that direction and doesn't find a new direction. So I think that,
Correct.
so that the level spreader is going to act in a way like a swale, and the low end of it, which is the far end, is where the water gets directed to this new stream, so to speak. It just needs to be done in a way where the trail can have its trail part safety, safely away from where the water is going to be flowing, and any future washouts that could happen. So in order to do that, we have to spend some money. And we did get a report or a proposal from Perkins Eastman for coming up with not only the plan, a detailed plan, but supervising the construction, both Perkins Eastman and SLR, and some of their time that they've already spent, because they've been out there a couple times. They were out there, Rizzo was out there, a bunch of us were out there several times. So they've included that in the proposal too. So I sent the proposal around, and Joe Collada, I'm going to ask you a question. There's the 2 pages that you sent of the proposal. One is your Perkins Eastman proposal, which has the SLR fee in it.
Yeah.
And then there were the Perkins East or the SLR pages.
Correct.
We need to approve both of those or just the one?
No, just ours. That was the SLRs is just backup.
Yeah, so that's a backup. We don't need to have that signed because you've done that
Correct.
with other things that we've added. So what I'm going to do for further discussion is I'm going to put that up. Did everybody get it? Do you need me to put it up on the screen? Because I can put it up on the screen. Anybody need it on the screen?
Got it.
Maybe I'll just put it up anyways.
I can add it too.
What's that, Vin?
I can share my screen again.
Okay, go ahead.
If I can find all the buttons.
Fine.
A
Okay,
little bit different view this time.
well, that's still more interesting than looking at everybody's faces. Sorry, everybody.
With winter coming, that's what we want to see, right?
Yep.
Snorkeling. All right, let me grab that proposal. Here, give me a minute.
And just the Perkins Eastman one, I think would be
Right.
fine. SLR.
Yeah, that's the one I am looking to grab here. Where is it? Oh, man. Give me a second here. That was sent yesterday. In the morning. Here it is. All right, and I think we want this one right here. No, wrong one, that one's SLR. We get this one. There we go.
Yeah, the one with a whole bunch of numbers is SLR. Yeah, that's the Perkins Eastman.
Perkins Eastman.
So what I'm gonna do is make a motion so that if we need to discuss it further, we can. I'll make a motion that we accept Perkins Eastman proposal dated September 26, 2022. For plans and construction administration and remediation of the stormwater management area level spreader in the amount of $19,830.
I'll second that.
Royce seconds it. So any other input or discussion on this? We've had a lot from different people and different ways.
Nancy, without a quorum, can we legally do this? Well, I mean, as a voted,
We have a quorum. Dave Olson's on.
oh, okay, I didn't know he was on. I apologize.
He's on by his phone.
Okay,
Yep. So there's 5 of us. There's me and Roy here in person, you, John Perna, and Dave Olson. So we do have 5. So does anybody have any other further questions or input, observations, etc.? Are we good? All in favor? Aye. And Dave Olson, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself to say aye, or we'll assume you're saying aye because you're not saying no.
Here I am.
Okay, you're good with
Aye.
it?
Aye.
Aye. Dave says aye. Yay, thank you, Dave. Dave's
My
in
screen
Maine.
keeps changing.
Yeah, Dave's in Maine having lobster, so,
No, that was last night.
oh, that was last night, okay. All right, so that passes, and I'll get that signed, Joe, and get it taken care of. Thanks for the input on all of this, from Vinny and Mark, etc. Like we've said, a couple different approaches, yet I think obviously we're thinking this is the best way to go for now. And we'll still be looking with looking for some help, obviously, as we go along with this from STV. Because one of the conversations we had yesterday, we'll have to start looking into what process do we need to do to get this work done. As far as the town, do we need to go through either planning and zoning or inland wetlands or anybody? We just got to let everybody know what we're going to do so that somebody doesn't come in the middle of it and say, what are you doing? So Roy and I will start checking on that to find out what process the town wants us to go through to get all that done. We may need I don't know, some kind of approval or permit or something, or we may just get an okay to go ahead and do what we need to do. So we'll keep you posted on that part. Because like I said, there might be a town something that has to happen. But we'll check into it first to find out.
Well, Vin and I are here to help if you need us.
Great. Appreciate that. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything, Vin or Mark or Terry? Is there anything you need to know if Dr. Carver's off? You're good. Joe Collada, is there anything you need to?
No,
I would
I'm all
just-
set.
Okay,
I just wanted to follow up on the gate in the back there. Is that a shelved issue or is that still going ahead? If I know we discussed it briefly a few minutes ago, but I was under the impression that you were going to, the town had decided they were going to have that done by a local fence contractor and not ask Rizzo to do that. I just, if you need us to be involved in that, I'm happy to do it. Just
great.
like to know what that decision was.
Yeah, so they did bring forward a proposal and would have created a change order. However, there was some discussion yesterday on where would be the best place to put the gate.
Right.
He kind of came up with someplace different just because of how you would fit equipment in there and how you get through the gate and where you would, et cetera. So I think we still need to figure out, I think we may go through a different contractor. I think we need to get some input, further input on where the location of that gate should be. I mean, we kind of thought we had one picked out and then we were gonna move one, and then we said, no, let's not move it, let's just put a new one in. So I think we need to do a little further investigation. It's obviously got to get done in time for work to get done, but I think we're still,
Yeah, there's some discussions as far as opening up in a different area so that they could stage the process and riprap in
Yes.
different areas. So it might work out better that the gate gets moved around. So until we get a little farther along, I think with the plan, we can get some sort of a plan put together. Then I think we'd have a better handle on how to stage it and how to do the construction.
yeah,
Okay, thank you both for that explanation. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
right. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. So we'll put one in somewhere, because I think that we need to, it's not like, okay, let's just peel back some fencing, put some equipment in there and then put the fencing back. I think a permanent gate there is going to be the best alternative, but exactly where, I mean, we just had a couple of different, like, if we put it here, it would be good for this. If we put it over here, it would work better that way. So we'll keep you guys posted too. Anything else from anyone else? All right, we're good with schools. I think that somebody have any, Vinny, do you have something or?
Well, we have invoices for schools.
Oh, we do have invoices. Yes, thank you. Dave's here, so we can do invoices. Let's do that quickly.
All right,
I have them all right here.
and I will pull them up. First one is Perkins Eastman.
Okay, that's,
This is for Rockwell.
yep. So I have that, and I'm gonna do the motions and just make marks. If I can find my pen. That we okayed them. So the first one, I will make them, thanks for that reminder, Ben. I would have skipped right over. I'll make a motion to approve the Perkins Eastman invoice number 68961.06.0-18 for Rockwell for the month of August in the amount of $977.
Second.
I got a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one's done.
Next one is Perkins Eastman also for Johnson.
I will make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.07.0-18 for Johnson School, month of July, in the amount of $1,876.
Second.
Second from John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then we have two from STV.
Okay, August invoices. This
Yeah.
one right here is for Johnson Elementary.
Yep, so I'll make a motion that we approve STV invoice number 900-25592, again for the month of August in the amount of $1,365.
I'll throw a second on that.
Does the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
And the last one is STV for Rockwell.
Yep, so I'll make a motion that we approve invoice number 900-25593 for Rockwell, again for the month of August in the amount of $728.
I'll second.
John Menti seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. All righty, so I think that's all our school-related business. We got all our invoices done. Kathy, I'll either give them to you tomorrow or sign them now, depends on how much time you want to spend on it. And I think we can go back. So I think we're done. Anybody have anything more or any other questions or anything on school project business? We're good. So thank you, Mark, Vinny, Ken, Jim, Terry, Joe Colada. I think you guys can say goodnight. the rest of you, Menti and Perna and Dave Olson, got to stick around because we just got to give you another little quick update. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We will
Good night,
be.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
I know.
Thank you. So just for the rest of you, a quick update on municipal center renovations. We don't have any business to conduct, but I'll let you know that BMP has the permit and they requested that we do additional testing in the stairwell that's going to be demolished. So if you think about the original project where we were just doing the 2 bathrooms and we were leaving the 2 buried well, one stairwell is functional, but it's locked up and that's how you get up and down to the rooftop units, etc. The other one, which is on the women's room side, was just going to be left buried in the wall. We weren't going to touch it. We weren't going to demolish it. We were just going to leave it boarded up and put a bathroom in. Now that we're putting that second family bathroom in, that stairwell is being demolished, but it was never tested. It was not tested when we did the original testing way back 5 or so years ago by Hygienics. So through Jay Metcalf wanted to have, he's BMP, wanted to have that tested because if it's got any lead paint on it, let's say, or whatever, it's going to have to be demolished and abated in a certain way. So through Public Works, we got together and got Hygienics, and I had emailed everybody asking for okays on the proposal. Hygienics was here yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, it was yesterday. Hygienics came yesterday with a fellow from BMP. The BMP fellow cut a hole in the sheetrock and the Hygienics guy got in there where did what he needed to do, got back out. They covered the hole back up with sheetrock, so it's not just a big gaping hole because that bathroom's being used right now. And then, as we know, Hygienics is usually really good about getting their reports back quickly. So as soon as we get that report back, then BMP can make a determination of what has to be done. If there is abatement that has to be done, good on us for putting a large contingency on the project, because we have that. I think we have it covered with the contingency that we put on. So we don't really have any business to conduct. I don't have any invoices or anything, but I wanted to give you an update so you know what's going on with that. And maybe by the next meeting, we might have some schedule in place to get started. So I think that might be it until our next meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
That's my job.
Well, you're asleep. You're half sleeping.
No, no, no.
Yeah, you were. You were dozing off. I was watching you.
No.
Come on, Nancy. Let's hope.
Somebody's got to say
I'll
second.
Move it on.
Second it.
Roy seconds it. All in
All
favor?
right. Good night,
Aye.
everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you, Dave Wilson, for coming on. Say hi to Gail and Carol and Gary.